Chief Executive of the Welsh Ambulance Service, Jason Killens. All this week we've been reporting on the crisis which is currently affecting the service. Yesterday we heard from the Welsh Conservatives that they wanted Welsh Government to declare an emergency. Health Minister Eluned Morgan reluctant to do that. So, Jason, is this an emergency? How bad is the crisis?
Well, look, let's be clear. What we're seeing in the emergency ambulance service across Wales is a symptom of a wider issue across the rest of the NHS, and particularly urgent and emergency care here in Wales. Now, we've been experiencing lengthy response time delays for some patients for a number of weeks and months now, and I want to apologise to every single one of those patients across Wales that's waited longer than we would like for their emergency ambulance to arrive. And I'm clear that the level of service that they've received is unacceptable. Now, what's been happening is three things, really. We've got increasing prevalence of COVID in our communities, which means more of our staff are being affected by that and aren't able to work. We've got a tired workforce as a result of the pandemic, and so we've got less people available to work overtime. We've got pressure across urgent and emergency care, as I've said, which is leading to extensive hospital handover delays, which is also affecting our ability to respond. And to give you a sense of the scale of the pandemic, still 1 in 5 of our 999 calls this weekend was COVID related. So the pandemic is not over, and it is still very much with us. So we've got growing activity or demand for our services. We've got pressure on our workforce as a result of the pandemic and being the workforce being tired and other things. And we've got issues and pressure across the rest of the NHS.
We've been hearing about ambulances backing up onto the hospitals, people having to wait 12 hours, sometimes in the back of an ambulance, preventing those ambulances going out again to service patients. How concerning is this for you, that this is happening?
Well, this is a big problem for us, and of course it's also affecting the morale of our staff. You know, our staff come to work wanting to provide great care to patients in the shift they come to work, and on too many occasions they have recently been delayed at emergency departments handing over. Of course, that adds pressure to our ability to respond to patients in the community. But the issue there is broader than the emergency department. It's about flow through the hospital. It's about access to social care. It's about patients that are medically fit that need to get back into the community, unable to do so. So there's a big, complex set of issues here. And of course, we're the barometer, if you like, of that, very visible in the community. And those pressures end up with ambulance response delays in the community.
Welsh Government was asked to have a strategy, a plan. Eluned Morgan yesterday said that there is one in place, that she started the talks in July. What does it entail? What does it look like?
Well, I'm focused on the bits of the system that I can control and influence. And whilst we work with our health board partners on fixing the issues that we've just described, the part that we can play is twofold. In the short term, it's about getting more ambulances on the street so we can respond to more patients more quickly. And that will mean that those patients get some care rather than no care whilst they would otherwise be waiting in the community. And then secondly, the part that we can play as an ambulance service here for the medium to longer term is about treating more patients in the community in their homes and avoiding the journey to the emergency department where we can do that. Now, we've begun that process, and we've got different types of clinicians available to us now. We're increasingly providing advice over the phone, but there's more for us to do. So we only convey patients to the emergency department when it's absolutely necessary.
You've written a letter to the Armed Forces this week and to the First Minister. The First Minister's also written to the MOD requesting that they provide support. The third time this has happened during the pandemic. Is this in preparation for the winter?
It's in part in preparation for the winter, yes. So it's certainly to help us mitigate the impact of the pressure that we're feeling now. So to plan and get ahead of some of the plans that we have for winter. Now, I'm worried about winter this year. I think it's going to be very difficult for us. Winter is always difficult in the NHS and in the ambulance service, but I think this year is going to be a winter like no other. So we are planning now and planning aggressively to have as much capacity on the as we can to respond to patients just as quickly as we can. And some of the military assistance that we've requested this week will help us with that.
Do you think that's going to be enough?
Well, I think that's a really difficult question. There are a number of unknowns about winter this year: adverse weather, snow, flooding, and so on the extent to which COVID will be prevalent in the communities. I'm clear it's going to be a difficult winter. We're seeking to put as many ambulances on the streets as we possibly and to get to as many patients as quickly as we can. But the public can help us help them through what is a difficult period for us, only using their emergency ambulance. In a genuine emergency, they can get urgent and non-urgent health advice from 111 or from the 111 website.
Is this about throwing money at the problem? Is it about training new staff, getting more bodies in to be able to drive and act as paramedics?
I wouldn't say it's about money, actually, because we've received significant investment in the last couple of years. We've put in 250 new additional extra posts into the emergency ambulance service across Wales. We recruit pretty much back to back, and our training capacity is full up, so much so that we're outsourcing towards the end of this year a course to bring in more people across the back end of this calendar year. So we've received investment from our commissioners and from government. It's not a matter of money for us. It's a matter of physical capacity and demand outstripping that capacity all too often.
You mentioned there about your staff, about morale. How is this affecting them? We hear it across the board, don't we, about how the COVID pandemic's been impacting on people's well-being and mental health. What are you doing to provide support to those who are in the sector?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. Our staff have been feeling the pandemic just like the rest of us, and in some cases more. Of course, we've lost colleagues. Everyone knows someone who's been ill or sadly died through the pandemic, and that's no different for our people. Of course, they're responding to patients in the community that are also seriously ill at personal risk too. So our workforce, our clinicians, our staff in our control rooms, in our contact centres, in the 111 and our 999 service are tired, and they've been affected by the pandemic just as the rest of us have. Now, we've invested heavily in our occupational health teams and also in the services that we provide, not only for physical health, but also for mental health for our staff too. So we recognise that we have had to do more to support our people, and we continue to look for all opportunities to strengthen the mental health and physical health well-being offer we have for our people.
Obviously, the dialogue and the meetings continue for you. What's the next big thing? Have you got any big conversations coming up with Welsh Government or the health boards in the coming days?
Well, look, we're constantly in dialogue with health board partners and with government. For now, we're focused on getting everything we possibly can on the streets to respond to patients just as quickly as we can. The next big step for us will be the formal approval of the request that we've made for military assistance. We expect that in the next couple of days, and subject to that approval, we'll commence training those soldiers in October, and we'll see the first group of them deployed on the streets next to our clinicians in our ambulances from the middle of October.